So maybe as we slowly get started, I'm wondering about the audience. So maybe first of all, and I always like to start my presentations with questions. I'll do the same thing today. So if we could have a raise of hands, who already knows WEBCON? Okay, so it's going to be a good idea if I give you a little bit of context about WEBCON. I see some familiar faces. This is my 4th year at IT Congress. So some of you might have been at different presentations I've had here earlier. So before we go into sort of AI within WEBCON, it's a good idea if you have some context about what WEBCON is to begin with. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to imagine, I think. So WEBCON is a platform for digitizing and automating business processes. It's a low-code platform, so I always like to compare it to, let's say, Lego for building applications. So the typical situations where you can use WEBCON is if you have a lot of manual processes that are either still happening on paper, in Excel files, in personal Word documents on people's OneDrive, documents floating around on SharePoint without a real structured business process around it. So that is where WEBCON offers a platform. Since it's low-code, you can deliver those process-based applications very quickly. Since it's very easy, you don't need to have programming skills to build those applications. So it is a great platform that our clients use to automate and digitize manual processes. Also processes surrounding other systems. So if you are in manufacturing, for example, or in retail, you of course have your ERP system, you have SAP or Microsoft Business Central, these type of solutions that are usually quite difficult and very expensive to change, right? So if you have your core enterprise systems, but your business processes are a little bit different, you have a difficult decision as IT because you can either modify the heck out of your ERP, which is going to be super expensive and it's going to be very problematic because if you're not using the standard version, but have a customized version of the ERP doing updates, etc., is going to be, all the regression testing makes it very expensive. So WEBCON is a very flexible platform that you can use in low code to digitize business processes. And why that matters when it comes to AI. So today's presentation is going to focus on the AI features we've added over the last years into the platform to make, let's say, everybody's experience better and even more automated, of course, with the possibilities that AI has in these days. Another question from me to you. So who is already professionally using AI within their organization on a daily basis? Could we have? Not a lot of people. With all the hype that is around AI, it's not a lot of hands going up actually. One of my personal experiences, because of course we have AI in Copilot, for example, in Teams available to us from the company. But it's sort of loose, random discussions, right? Me as an end user, if I need something while I'm doing my daily business, asking sort of one-off questions and then getting answers based off random information off the internet, it has a couple of problems. So in a lot of cases, for me as a business user, it doesn't have sort of the right context of what I'm actually working on today, which process I have in front of me and what I need at the moment. That makes it pretty tricky. If you're in IT, it's also a bit of a nightmare because you have no governance, because you don't know what your end users are asking Copilot. You don't know what company information and documents they might be feeding into Copilot. So it is a governance and an IT security nightmare actually. If you have, I don't know, contracts that are being sent to random AI models to get a summary back, for example. So from IT perspective, very, very tricky situation to get this working properly. And I think that's probably the reason why there weren't a lot of hands going up just earlier. So let me skip back to WEBCON. So We've added AI features focusing on different types of users. So as you can imagine, with our platform, I'm going to identify three main types of users. So there's obviously the end user, that is, right, somebody from a business department, HR, finance, logistics, sales, purchasing, whatever, that is doing their daily work and that can use some assistance from AI. That is one user group. There's going to be IT professionals that are building those applications based on our platform. So we've added some AI features to help them to speed things up. And then there's maybe the most important one of the three, that's the business analyst. That's actually connecting the business to IT, speaking to business users, trying to figure out their needs, building sort of prototypes for them, and then actually telling IT what business really needs, and then getting those applications delivered. I'm going to spend my first part of the presentation sort of talking about what features we added, and then I'm going to sit down over there and actually show you those features live within the platform. So, and of course with those different type of users, there's different ways on how AI can help them. So what we've added for business analysts or key users from the business. The AI process builder. So we have a tool that is used for rapid prototyping. So this is specifically a place for a business analyst and someone from business to sit down, build a prototype very quickly. If that is something that interests you, I have a session later today at 3 p.m. where I'm going to build a prototype live with the audience. So if the prototyping thing sounds interesting, then get back to me at 3 p.m. And this sort of replaces the traditional requirements gathering where a business user has to write a requirements document on Word using Excel to sort of explain IT what they need, which is always very tricky because they can't really visualize what they're getting until IT has actually built it. And then they figure out it's not really what they wanted, so IT has to fix it again and build it again. It takes a long time to get the perfect application. So with the prototyping, in half an hour, and you will see so this afternoon if you join me, you can actually build a prototype, get a visual idea of the application that you're looking for, and move forward. So to speed this up, we've added AI process builder in there. So instead of building a prototype, which is normally mapping out a process, telling what data you have in the process or what forms you have on a field, and then connecting the dots, you can just write what you need. So in a prompt, you tell AI, I need an application for, I don't know, receipt of goods or settling my business trip because I've gone to IT Congress and now I have a business trip to settle. And it will prepare the first version of the prototype for you. So with just one sentence, if you're a business user, you know you need something, but you don't really know exactly what. You can use AI prompts to get a first version. So we're going to see that live in a second. So this helps the whole generation of prototypes speed up even more. So then we have end users. So obviously those are very important as well, since with processes you probably have a lot of end users and then a few people from IT perspective delivering those applications. For the end user, we've added the AI concierge. So this is sort of a chatbot for an end user where they can interact and ask it for things. What is important here is that the end user is asking things in a specific context, right? So you are in a specific business process, you are doing a very specific task in a step of that process. So when you're asking AI something, you get answers that have all that context. They know who you are, what you're doing, so the answer you get is going to be a lot more specific and tailor-made to your actual situation, instead of just asking Copilot in Teams and getting some random answer that doesn't really have all that context. So it's going to help you filling out the form. One nice example that I quite like is coming back to business trips. This is probably a personal pain of me since I've had to settle too much business trips. Always when you come back after your business trip, right, you get a very long form to fill out of where did you go, when did you fly out, when did you come back, where did you sleep, what did you eat, etc. With all the bills you have to settle. So with Concierge, you can actually take all the bills and your flight bookings that you already have, throw them all at AI, and then tell it, based on these documents, please fill out the form. All the information is there, your flight reservation has all the data you actually need on the form, so instead of being manually having to fill out all the information on the form and then attach all those documents, I just throw those documents at the AI concierge and then tell it, so based on this information, fill out the form. If I'm settling an invoice, same idea. I have the invoice, so throw it at AI, please extract the data from the invoice and fill out the form so I can push it through the invoice approval process. So it can sort of replace OCR solutions in this aspect. So for the end user, that is a key element. This is some visual idea of what it looks like. We're going to see that live in just a second. Then we have the power user. So I don't want to focus too much on this since it gets a bit technical. We're going to be at the booth for the next 2 days, so if you want to go under the hood and have a look at the power user perspective, please come over, let me know what sort of business processes you're looking into, and we can discuss the possibilities. But obviously the idea here is to eliminate manual tasks. So besides the AI concierge, we have AI agents. So those agents actually perform a specific step within the process. We're going to see that live in a second, so probably the live example is going to be more interesting. But if you have, let's say, a help desk ticketing scenario is an example that I quite like, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So imagine somebody asks a question, and this could be sort of a help desk situation where somebody has a problem. One of our clients here in the region is the Timisoara municipality. So imagine a citizen having a question that is being sent to the municipality. The other example, one of our largest customers is in retail. They have a process for everybody that works in their stores where they can ask a question to somebody at the head office. So if one of the cash registers is not working, I don't know, some of the lights are missing, or we need some new shelving, could be anything. They have a process to send this to the head office, and of course such a request needs to be analyzed, whether it's a help desk situation, or a citizen connecting the municipality, or somebody from a store asking a question to the head office. This needs to be categorized. Who should it go to? Is it a high priority thing, or is it not that critical? And this is usual all manual operations that you can very easily eliminate with AI. So the AI agent performs such a task instead of the end user. What's quite important here, right? So if we have a simple process, we can see that the categorization step here is taken care of by AI. What's quite important, if you want to have quality feedback from AI, the quality of your prompt is really important. You will probably have experienced this if you're playing with Copilot or any AI. If you feed it more information, high quality information, you're going to get a higher quality answer back. So with these agents, they're defined by power users that know exactly what should be done by the agent in this step. So they can spend a bit more time and effort on defining a quality prompt for AI, right? What are you supposed to do, in which context? If something needs to be categorized, of course, you have specific categories, so you don't want some random text coming back to you with a categorization because you have processes internally about which category goes to which department, etc. So you want it to be very specific. So with the detailed prompt, the end user doesn't need to care. The power user can define what AI does, and you're actually eliminating manual work using the agents. So that's quite an interesting one. And of course you can evolve this as you grow. So with WEBCON it's very easy to change running processes. So if you have steps that are currently manual, you can change those into an automated step, one by one, test them and roll out AI functionality that way. All in a very controlled, governable way where IT has the full idea of what exactly are we asking AI to do. And for the technical people in the room, which model is being used underwater is configurable. So we can use this with either public models of Google, Gemini, Claude. You can also use models that you have in a private cloud situation. So if you have your Azure installation where it's not just public Copilot, but actually it's within your cloud environment, you can connect it there. And very shortly, we're also going to allow you to use a fully local large language model. So if you want to run the whole thing on-premise using your own large language model, that is also on the roadmap coming very shortly. So that also gives you the control. You can also decide, maybe for one process, I'm okay with using the public Google model. For another process where it concerns confidential information, contract management, these type of things, you want to have it fully local because, of course, this cannot just go to any public AI model to make sure security is on par. So that is quite a good thing as well. Then there's a few more technical features when it comes to test automation that we're working on, test analysis, and a few things underwater coming soon. Actually, some of them are already out. MCP server is one of them. If you're into AI, this will be interesting. It basically means that you can connect WEBCON as a data source to another AI you're using. So the situation here is you're not in WEBCON in a process, but you're in Teams using Copilot. Using MCP server, you can make WEBCON information available to Copilot in Teams. So at that point, you can just stay within Teams. You don't have to go to WEBCON to a specific process and go there to ask your questions. You can just speak to Copilot in Teams just like you're doing every day. And you will get answers regarding your WEBCON processes, what are my tasks, if you want to have a process generated, right? Create a new contract for me for this specific customer. And you can do it within Copilot without having to actually go to WEBCON. So quite some nice features there. I think this is a good moment to actually move over there, try not to break my neck over the cables here. And then let's have a look at, so I'm going to sit down, and I'm sorry I like to be standing up, be visible to all of you. I need to do some clicking to show you this actual live. So I'm going to move to my demo environment. And what we have here is our designer desk. So this is the prototyping application I mentioned earlier. And usually if you're working with this, let me open some prototype to give you the idea. All right, so basically what we do here, that's a very good idea. Okay. I already said it's going to warm up here pretty soon. It's taken about 15 minutes and it's already getting pretty warm. Right, prototyping is just dragging and dropping steps of a process onto a form. So here I have some purchase request application. So I send in a request, it goes to some approval. Maybe I have some logic deciding that I need a second layer of approval where it needs to go to the board. But usually the process here is dragging and dropping steps onto the interface. Then I can do the same thing for the data I would like within my process. So if in my purchase request, right, I have a requester and a manager and the date and the description and some department, I put those fields on the interface, and then within half an hour you have a running prototype where I can actually see the application that I wanted live, and I can actually work with it. I actually have some data sources connected. Right, so the big advantage here for a business user is that they can actually see what they're getting before they've invested a lot of time and effort and money into it. So we're going to speed this up using AI. So we're going to go back. Yeah, we can leave this without any consequences. And we're going to take AI as a starting point. So instead of me drawing the process and filling out all the fields, I'm going to just ask it what I need. We can use the business trip application. If somebody has a specific example, we can do this interactive so it doesn't look like I've prepared all this behind the scenes and it only works if I ask it one specific question. So anybody has a specific process that they need digitized that I can use as an example? That's still pretty early, I see you're still getting started, so I'll just do the business trip in that case. Just for the record, I've asked. I've given you the possibility. So I need a business trip settlement process. So set it to turbo. So it should have 3 approval steps. And of course, again, the more information I feed it, the better it's going to be. So let's say I want the process to be according to sort of best practices and industry standards. So if you have specific standards that you're upholding, I don't know, if it's financial processes, you have some ISO standard or local banking procedures, you can refer those in the prompt and then it's going to use public information to make the process meet those requirements. Make it according to best practices, industry standards, and give it a substantial data set. So let's see what AI comes up with. Like I said, this is especially good if you already know exactly what the process is. That's great, of course. What you can actually, sure? You were one sentence ahead of me. I was just going to say, no, perfect. Just keep asking questions. If you have anything, just let me have it. That's going to be much more fun. So if you have a BPMN 2.0 diagram that you've already drawn, or you started on a whiteboard, right, and you have some initial drawing that you already have. Also, if you're actually migrating from some other, or if you've used some mock-up tool or prototyping tool already to do something like this, and now you're migrating those processes into WEBCON, you can take either a screenshot. If it is sort of an XML diagram from another tool that you've extracted, you can also feed it into here. So for the AI, it doesn't really make a difference if it's a visual drawing or if it's XML. Actually, if it is XML, it's going to be more structured and probably higher quality data going in. So what we can see is, based on our one prompt, it has come up with a whole substantial process about my settlement. So the employee submits something, it goes through first level approval, it might get rejected, it might get approved and go to the second level approval. So with just one sentence, this was a very, very easy, quick starting point. Is it perfect? And is it exactly the process that I have in mind for my organization? Probably not. But now that I have this, I can just go and correct whatever doesn't fit for me. And that can be much, much easier than sort of sitting down with a blank piece of paper and trying to imagine what I actually need here. So this is a very quick starting point when it comes to the process. And like I said, if I need any changes within WEBCON, that's a matter of, I don't know, also this step, I don't want it. So I just throw it out. And actually this one, I want to connect it back to this step. And then I want to send it back. So making those changes is very, very easy. What we also got from AI is a whole form. So I didn't have to drag individual fields onto my form and imagine all the information I need. I got this based on my one prompt. So we have trip purpose, the starting date, the ending date, where am I going to, what expenses am I expecting during this trip, right? Which currency, etc., etc. And again, you can throw out what you don't need, add whatever is missing, and there you have the first version of your prototype. And again, since it's a prototype, We can also run it. Let me have a look. So we have our field matrix where we can define what should be visible or not. So you can run the prototype with the field matrix we have here. You can actually change the behavior of the fields you have throughout the process. But maybe since I have a whole session on that this afternoon, if this topic interests you, meet me at 3. We'll go through the whole thing so you can see what the prototyping tool does. So coming back to another scenario, right? So now we've seen the AI features we have for the business analyst or key user for business department. Let's have a look at the actual business process. So like I said, the help desk or complaint topic I quite like. So we have a process here fitted with some AI bits and pieces. Maybe to just give you an idea of what the process is here. So we have a starting point. So we have some question, complaint, request, whatever coming in. We want to categorize it, give it a priority. We also want to plan some corrective actions, right? Since this is a complaint, something has obviously gone wrong, so what are we going to do to fix it? That's done by AI. Then we want to put it back to a human actor. I think for AI in general, wherever you use it within processes, it's always good to keep the human in the loop, right? To sort of validate, are we still on the right track? So we're putting it back with a human actor. Then we're going to communicate back to our client regarding the complaint that they had. And once we finish that, we're also going to be planning some preventive actions, right? So not just how do we correct this issue, how do we prevent it from happening in the future? So a pretty standard sort of complaint process. So what I'm going to start with is the actual complaint. So in this case, since I want you to see what I'm doing, I'm just adding it in the form of a document. So I have a finally. So I'm starting now just adding a document. The document has a complaint. That could have been an email coming into my inbox at the help desk department. It could have been an integration, so if I have some other systems, or WEBCON has web APIs, web services, so you can connect WEBCON to other systems. So if in your situation the complaint is registered somewhere else, I don't know, a mobile app, wherever, you can also start the process this way. So it doesn't have me obviously adding a document here. This is just my example. So I'm going to just save this. And then leave it here for a while. So you can imagine that those complaints coming in can be pretty clear. In a lot of cases, yes, especially if you've worked with some help desk, usually there's a lot of redundant information in the ticket, so you need to sort of figure out which part of this email actually has the thing that I'm supposed to be looking at. So we want to have a summary from that document, right, from that complaint, whether it's an email or whatever it is. So we have tasked AI to come up with a complaint summary. So this takes input from the email, and in a specific structure and with a specific context, it provides you with a summary. So in this case you can say, imagine that I am a help desk agent, I'm supposed to be dealing with these type of issues, I need this information from the complaint. Now give me a summary. So the summary is going to be written in a way that actually makes sense for you within this business process. I think that's very important. Again, comparing it to random copilot that you just ask a question, it's not going to have that context, it's not going to have a high quality prompt. So I have a summary, all right? So this happened automatically. I just paused it here to show you what we're doing. So now I want to submit this. So I've sent it forward. And this is where usually it would go to some internal department that has a look at the complaint, reviews it, and says, okay, so who can actually deal with this? Should it go to department A or B or C? And is it important or not really important? And what are we going to do about it, right? So manual actions, people reading the same text over and over again, so actually you're losing quite a bit of time there. So if we go here, we see that initially the complaint has been categorized. So we have a specific complaint category, which is the product. And here we have predefined categories, of course, that are being used. It is a medium level complaint, so it's not super crucial. And if we refresh it again, because AI has been working in the background, we've also received our corrective action, again, according to a specific set of corrective actions that we're using internally. And it's proposed a plan. How are we going to make sure that the customer is satisfied? Are we going to, in this case, exchange the product? Do we have a problem in our manufacturing facility that we need to look at, engage additional people to repair it? So looking back at the process, we've now gone through the start, the complaint analysis and planning corrective actions without any human interaction. So this could have been the email landing in your inbox, and the first time we actually send it to a human, we already have this information available to us. So that is something that saves actual time. So now it's back with me as a human actor. I can check if I'm happy with all the categorization it's done, with the text it's proposed, etc., make changes wherever I need it. So we're keeping the human in the loop. I'm just going to send it forward. And then the next step in our process is where we decide what to tell the customer. Because of course we sent in a complaint, we need to communicate back to the customer. What are we going to do with your complaint? How are we going to address it? How are we going to make sure it doesn't happen in the future? So, and of course we want to have the human in the loop here immediately before we actually send something to the customer. So what AI has given me, based on all the information we already have, it's proposed a response to the client with a specific title, with a specific text, which is written in a specific style. So with these kind of things, of course, your company probably has, for the help desk, specific communication standards. How do we speak to our clients? How do we address them, etc. Within marketing department, this is pretty common for the help desk team. They have, their whole structures of how do we communicate to the customer. Is it more informal or very formal, right? Depending on what kind of company you are. So you can give the AI that context, so the response is immediately going to be fitting your sort of company identity, which is of course very important. So let's say at this point, I'm the end user. I don't have to do anything because AI has proposed me the response, but I'm more clever than AI. I'm not really happy with the response, so I want to make some changes. So I mentioned that we also have AI available for the end user to interact with what they have in front of them. So that is the concierge right here. So let's say the response we have here, I want to make some changes. I'm not too happy with it. It is a bit long. I don't like it. So please make it a bit shorter. 2 sentences should be enough. So now, based on my question, AI has rewritten the response to be a maximum of 2 sentences. I see a little icon here, which indicates that this field has been changed by AI. So since in this step, I as a human user am responsible for what I'm actually submitting. With the previous steps, the AI agent was responsible. This is important because in WEBCON, every process has a complete audit trail. So, of course, for auditing purposes, it's very important that you know what exactly happened, when, and by who. So with the AI agent, it was the AI agent that was responsible for categorizing the complaint and sending it to the next step. Right now, it's me as a human. So I need to see which of the fields were changed by AI. I want to make some more changes here. Since we're in Romania, it might be nice to actually send this response in Romanian instead of in English. But I'm not going to be able to tell you if this is a great response, because I don't read Romanian. But
you can translate it into English now.
You can translate it back into English and then double check it, which is actually quite a good one. It might sound funny, but you can actually, I mentioned you can connect multiple AI models to those actions we had. So you can actually, this is probably more relevant to marketing, right? If you have one text that you're posting on LinkedIn, you're using it in some professional magazines, and you're maybe using the same text in email communication. So you have one source text, but you probably want to have it written in 3 styles, because on LinkedIn it's going to have a different, you want to have emoticons in there, and it should have a different character. So you can actually have different AI models correcting each other. So you can do a review loop where one AI suggests the text, and then the second AI, which is maybe better at this specific purpose, does the review, checks if it meets all your corporate communication guidelines, and if it doesn't, it will send it back to AI number 1. So you can actually do those kind of things. What you can also do, since I have my response now, if I'm an end user, and since we have the help desk situation, so over there you usually have quite a high rotation. So we've tried within the platform to give you all the tools you need for making it easy for an end user to understand what they're doing in this process, right? And if they work with 15 different processes, they all look similar, so it's easy for them to find their way. If they still don't know what they're really supposed to be doing here, because this is the first time they see this process and they don't have a lot of time, so I can just ask it, what am I supposed to be doing here right before I actually go fill something out? Again, since we have the context and the business process is described, all the individual steps have a description, we know which actor is currently working with this process, you get a pretty elaborate response about what are you as an end user in this specific step of the process with these fields on the form actually expected to do. So if you have somebody that just joined the team and they're figuring out, what am I doing here, please help me out. Also, the AI concierge is quite a good way to actually help out the end user. So you can interact with this as you please. Also feed it files to fill out the form, as I mentioned, So invoice, where you need to pull data from the invoice, fill it out on the form. You can use the AI features there. So within the next step, so of course, within WEBCON we have all the possibilities to actually send out an email to the client. So in this case, we're actually going to send the response directly from WEBCON to the client. It's going to be coming into my inbox in a second, so we'll see that the email actually arrives. We have this all fully covered with auditability, but that's not AI, that's just what WEBCON does since a very, very long time. Now that I've sent my response out, last step we have here, since we performed the corrective actions, the last thing we had here is the preventive actions, So what do we do to prevent this from happening again next week? So AI is still working on the plan, but you can probably guess it by now. Over here in a second, I'm going to have a detailed plan with preventive actions suggested to me. And again, you can connect workflows with each other within WEBCON. So I'm showing an extremely simplified version of the process right now, Because obviously the corrective actions, it probably have more implications than me just selecting some value on a form. It probably had some sub-workflow connected to it where actual teams have to do something to make it happen. We don't want to go into that much detail because then the presentation is going to end up taking 1.5 hours, but where you can connect complicated processes to each other to make that actually happen. And so if we come back here, and the server room has warmed up a little bit, it's proposed me a plan of preventive actions, what to do, and again you can connect this to another team that is going to be in the manufacturing site on the shop floor, actually improving the machinery to prevent this action from happening again. So, in a quick overview, that is what I wanted to share with you today. So, AI possibilities to make your AI governable from IT, make it secure, make it have sense, and it's always going to be in the context of a process. It's always going to have high quality data. That's also one of the big issues with AI, right? If you have anyone who has worked with BI solutions knows this, it's garbage in is garbage out. With AI, it's the same thing. So if you're building, using AI features on top of some chaotic mess of Excel files and random OneNote documents and have no context, the quality answers you're going to get are probably also going to be garbage, right? So that's probably why we saw like 5 or 6 hands going up that, right, AI actually makes sense for me. So this gives you that context in a business process, governable for IT. So I hope that this has been interesting. If you have specific business processes where you have gaps between the ERP and other systems, if you have stuff still in Excel files and happening on paper, like I said, we're going to be here for the next 2 days. So please come over to the booth. Let's discuss what WEBCON or the AI features can do for you. And we have the whole team from Data2U who is actually realizing solutions for real customers on an everyday basis with us as well, so they can definitely catch up with you as well. So thank you so much for staying with me in this slowly warmer and warmer room. I hope it's been an interesting session. I'm looking forward to the next 2 days. Thank you very much.